Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show for the Tesla Life. What are we? We are the 22nd of April.
Earth Day, baby.
Earth Day. Correct. Show 145. Welcome to the show. And let's get to our panel right away. Mr. Earth Day with us today. That reminded us, Patrick Connor from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hey, Mark. Hey, everybody out there in Tesla Life land. And happy Earth Day to you. This is number 50, 50, the big one. And to celebrate Earth Day, we've all stayed home for weeks to get the air super clean.
We knew we were doing it for something. We just didn't know what.
Yeah, the biggest Earth Day celebration ever. Everyone's participating.
Yeah, nature's really appreciating what we're doing for it.
Yes.
Clean water, clean air.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I do kind of feel like Mother Nature sent us all to our room to think about what we've done. Yes. Yeah. Here's some various corn for you to think about. That's an anagram. You can figure out what various corn might be.
Also joining us from the East Coast, the DC area, Mr. Casey Green. How are you today, sir?
Okay.
And Mr. Green's wearing a green shirt because of Earth Day, I'm sure.
It was on top of the basket. Year 7 of staying at home in the last however many weeks it's actually been. Freshened up a little bit for the show. Put on a clean shirt.
Did you say year 7? Does it feel like that?
Yeah.
Just counting down. Just keep counting the years. That can get you in trouble too, so be careful.
It's true. Somebody said it was February.
Oh man. Well, of course, another week goes by and the news just keeps on rolling in. So let's get right to it. One of the top stories of last week was an article put together by Electric, where they talked a little bit about the additional features of full self-driving that are starting to roll out. So we've got two big ones that they wanted to talk about. Of course, there's the signal lights and the stop signs that are now starting to roll out to a slightly larger audience. The early adopters, the early testers really is who is getting this particular one. And they explained, somebody had released some notes about how this actually works. And if you're not aware, what is actually going to happen is that when the car approaches a set of stoplights, it is going to stop at every light, regardless whether it's green or red, apparently. And what's going to happen is that the driver is going to be required to make a signal with the car, a turn signal, or pressing the gas pedal.
Accelerator.
Sorry. It's really tough to drop that. But it's that signal that will tell the car that, yes, the light is green and you can continue without stopping. Otherwise, if no signal is made to the car, apparently it's going to stop as if the light is red. Or, right. Of course, that the occupant is not paying any attention, which is a great scenario anyways, if that is the case, stopping on that light. But this is a thing that Tesla has done in the past with other starts of full self-driving releases, where it's asking the human occupant to just really confirm what the car believes it's supposed to be doing. And of course, the data that the car will collect from either the false positives or the actual positives, they will analyze that and start to be more confident that the algorithm is choosing the right thing as to whether the light is green or red or yellow. So very interesting. Man, that's going to be something to see when that starts to roll out. You guys, of course, are going to be able to use that when it comes out, and I just wonder, is that any surprise to you as to how they're rolling this out?
Not particularly. The difference is the stock is not the turn signal, but the autopilot stock, and obviously the accelerator pedal. If this thing doesn't go wide, I won't miss it. Although if it does go wide, I do want to be one of the first ones to have it. But simply because right now, basically, it looks like we're the ones labeling the map for Tesla. So it's like you said, it's the safest thing to do. But it's got actually 2 levels to it if you look into it a little further. So it's got it's going to stop for everything just to make sure that they're not causing a liability, but it also won't run a stoplight or a stop sign. So if you get there and you tell it to go and it sees the light's red and it's sure the light's red, it won't go. It'll just ignore you.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and if you don't come to 0 at a stop sign and then go again, it won't. Or if you don't come to 0 first before you tell it, okay, go ahead, it'll just ignore it. It'll continue to stop, and then it'll listen to input. So this will be interesting to watch the rollout, especially if they let more of us get to try it out.
Because we as humans, obviously, we ignore stop signs a lot of the time. We do the rolling stops.
The stop of my people.
We only stop for certain things, right? Like there's many rolling stops, and that's going to be interesting. Are people going to start complaining that the car is following the rules of the road?
Oh, guaranteed.
And we as humans are ignoring them. So that's an interesting.
If I'm the driver and I step on the accelerator, I expect the car to go. For it to tell me, no, you can't go right now, is going to be a bit of a problem. This is supposed to be a convenience feature at this point. It's I'm supposed to be trading it, not vice versa.
Yeah. All you got to do is turn off cruise control. They'll let you do everything fully manual.
But you paid the money to get this full self-driving. And you're right. You're really the teacher here. You're teaching the car the rights and wrongs based on the rules of the road. If you don't drive the rules of the road now, it's going to be infuriating, I can imagine.
Yes.
I do like the fact that it's stopping, and then whether or not it's not counting on it being able to read the light correctly, and then you tell it when to go. And that way, they are going to be getting feedback. Every time they think, oh, I would have stopped here and you go, or vice versa, they can capture that 5 or 10 seconds of video, and next time you're on Wi-Fi, they can send it back, and they can use that to feed their neural network, and it'll make better and better decisions. That's the feedback system that they have. That's why they're going to be one of the first ones to have this in a fully deployable. So it's great for a great way to do it, a great way to roll it out. I'm happy to see this new feature and excited to try it out eventually.
And it's really cool that they're putting it on both cruise control and the autopilot auto steer. So if you're in a city where the streets are not auto steer friendly, say there's poorly parallel parked cars, the lane lines are either non-existent or very narrow and squiggly, you can still use it if you can keep the speeds down. So it's pretty cool. And then, so the other thing here is, since they are using us to label the data, they can generate maps. And several times in the past, Elon has mentioned that that the maps will get down to the point where they will map out potholes, so that while your car may get a flat, hopefully the next Tesla won't.
Right, it only takes one to hit that pothole, and then it gets registered in the database, and then they know, hey, when I'm going down this road, let's shift a little around that.
Yeah. Or if they see you avoid it, hopefully they'll also look at that, and maybe no tires need to be harmed.
Yeah. Good idea.
And of course, the other big feature that is not been released yet, but they claim it should be released before the end of 2020, is the reverse summon or the auto park.
Don't call it smart park.
No smart park here. So this of course is a feature that many people would enjoy, being able to pull up in front of an establishment, get out of the car, and then the car searches for its own parking spot and parks itself. Again, how do they? Well, it becomes a question of, do you trust the car to do it? Now, Casey and I were having a discussion before we started the show, and we were saying that, yeah, there's got to be quite a level of trust that your car does this consistently correct. And of course, if you've tried the self-park feature on the car now, while you're in the car to do a parallel or a perpendicular park, you know that sometimes it's a little out of whack. It's not perfect to say the least. So it's something that is an add-on to that. There's going to be a lot of trust you're going to have in your car before you set it loose from leaving you at the front of a door, and then it just takes off and tries to get a parking spot.
Right, and that's typical when you have something complicated like this that's trying to be done by AI. In the beginning, they're not very good at it, and a few million iterations later, and it's a whole different story. So I've heard multiple people saying, "Oh, I don't. The way that summons works today, this reverse summons is going to be horrible," and that's just looking so short term. The fact that it can do it and get it right even some percentage of the time is going to be something that rapidly snowballs and builds on. So, in the beginning, don't trust it. Don't just get out of your car, say auto park and walk away. Make sure you keep an eye on it. Make sure you're doing it someplace where it'd be safe, where there's not a lot of pedestrians or cross traffic, relatively empty parking lot, whatever the right place is. Be cautious in the beginning, but play with it.
Also, as I've noted in several of my firmware videos, it changes. So do this every time your car updates. Get acquainted with how it's behaving this time. So during this last update, 2020.12.5, I found that my car, with my wife sitting in the passenger seat, tried to either jump the curb or run over somebody. I don't know what it was doing or thinking, but after a manual reverse summon, the classic reverse summon, I restarted the smart summon, and it continued on without trying to murder people. And
that's a plus.
Yeah. So you enabled Christine mode somehow.
My car has played Christine in some other videos before, so I don't doubt it.
Oh my goodness!
I think we've got a sequel there. Someone email Stephen King and let him know.
Yes. So I've got a still here from a YouTube video that I want to share out with us. And it is a sample of what the car can see through composting of all the cameras. So that's as far up as it can see through the fisheye, the main. This is the left pillar camera. So this is the one on the driver's door. Obviously, the car will stitch them together better than we do. Oh, stop playing. And then you've got, this is the left and right repeater and the backup camera. These ones we've seen before, but we haven't really seen any output from the pillar cameras before, nor the overlapping front cameras. So that was pretty neat. This is by, I can't pronounce his name, but there it is, from November of 2018.
Interesting.
Cool.
Lot of view.
Yes. Yeah. So it does have a significant blind spot right at the hood. But if it learns to drive similar to how we have, it will not need to see the sides of the car and the edges of the car, especially the hood, to not run stuff over. Plus, it's got something we don't have. It's got that ultrasonics all around, as well as the radar.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we got another story later on, a little bit about the ultrasonics and emergency stop. We'll get to.
All right.
But our next story is about.
Sorry, real quick. Also, Elon had tweeted that with the new reverse summon, it will start making maps of parking lots and feeding that into what it already knows as well.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So our next story is I'm going to share a screenshot here of the app. Here we go. And what we've got here, of course, is our loot box, and it shows you your supercharged mileage. If you've gotten any referrals, obviously you're able to get some free supercharger mileage. And the new thing, of course, is that the expiry date showed up this week. So you now know exactly when your miles expire. Now, this, of course, drew the not surprising course for many people saying, I didn't even know that they expired. I thought they were there forever. And the time's too short. And then we actually had someone from Ontario, his name is Moss, who put a note to Elon saying, hey, during the coronavirus thing here, we can't move. Do you think we could push those things back a little bit and give us some spare time to get out of this quarantine at home. And Elon replied back that, yeah, we could do that. So it looks like we're going to get some grace period, at least for us during this health crisis where we're all at home. It's going to be pushed back a little bit, hopefully a few months, and get everyone a chance to use up that mileage when we're allowed to leave our house more than 10 feet out of the driveway.
So during the rollout of this program, Tesla did like they often do with bad news, and they put in the fine print. And several people did notice it, and a couple of the large YouTubers and large referral generators, like I don't know what they do. They must just basically be auxiliary salespeople or something, where they don't have YouTube channels, but they still got a lot of referrals. They were noticing that each time you get a new completed referral that picks up their car, it resets your expiry date and keeps your miles. So that was a way around it. But again, as your fellow Canuck noted, if we can't use them at all, then who's going to buy the car in the first place? And so this is another good thing that, hey, once you're out and about, let this thing sit in your driveway for when you need it. It's got the bioweapon defense mode if you get the large car. It's nice and nimble if you get the smaller cars. And your miles will come available later on.
Yeah. So that was a great move by Elon to allow us to use those miles at a later date, which is fantastic. Because many people, of course, here we are in spring, many people had road trips planned. Many people had vacations coming up. And, of course, that's all been put on hold. For goodness sakes, we can't even cross each other's border at this point here in North America. We're stuck on each side of the fake wall. So
the cutting the trees.
Luckily the Trans-Canada supercharger was put in place. Otherwise, because before you had to dip down into the U.S. to.
That's right. Yeah, to go west, we had to go through the top part of America to head west. But now we've got our own road that is covered, so at least that's good. Yes, absolutely.
And you've got the nicer ones.
We get the 250s. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, our credits are about to expire next month, but and now they'll be extended, so that's great. But the people that I don't feel any sympathy for are these YouTubers that have way too many referrals that they can't use them all. Those are the people I'm worried least about. What am I going to? Can I keep these until I get my free Roadster and then use them on that?
Yeah. I've got 1 trillion referral miles.
Yeah, no sympathy.
I don't have any referral miles.
Exactly.
And people who are worried about it, supercharging is not that expensive. So, I mean, if you can afford a Tesla, you can afford supercharging. So don't get hung up on, I didn't get to use my free stuff. We sometimes get irrational about free.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Which is why they're limited in the first place. People were abusing the system when it was unlimited free for everyone. And so.
Yes, yeah. There was somebody who had put crypto mining computers in their car, and they were powering them from their Tesla and then supercharging it to power their computer. That's obvious abuse. Yeah.
That's serious abuse. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share this picture from Shanghai. This, of course, is the Model Y wing of Gigafactory Shanghai that is going up. And before we had just seen basically a few piles being driven. Now we're into the full steel work, as you can see. And it's what I can't get over is in this photo over to the far right, the amount of cranes in the small area. Like you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, at least a dozen in this small little area over to the right as they are putting cross beams in. Incredible build is going on here faster than anywhere in the world, as we've seen. So I would have no problem imagining that this second wing will be up in 10 months, just like the first one.
They look small,
China
but notice how many.
How to do construction, definitely.
Oh, they do. They look small, but notice how many full-size trucks are actually sitting in between each of those.
Yeah, very small. Very small. They look. Absolutely.
So how much do you want to bet that's done before the Germany Gigafactory?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that was a foregone conclusion before they even started to clear a tree in Germany.
Oh yes. So right now last time we looked, we saw it looked like the same stage with the first Chinese part of the Gigafactory, where it looked like all the people were complaining about, oh, it's a mud field, it's a hoax, blah blah blah, and we were talking about, hey, look at the, it looks like it says good luck, and then we had somebody translate it for us. Thank you to that person, and yet same thing. That one progressed just as fast as this one, and so I'm excited to watch this happen, especially now that they're open for business again.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Our next story, of course, touches upon what's been going on for the past 3 weeks. Munro and Associates has been tearing down a Model Y, and that continues. What we got this week are some information on the teardown of the Frunk, or right down to the firewall. Some information on the headliner that's in the car, the differences between the 3 and the Y, quite a few, surprisingly. The noise, vibration, and harshness countermeasures, the NVA they call it. That's new to me. I didn't know that was, but there are different paddings and different soft materials built into the Y that are there to take in the noises and vibrations that happen in the car to deafen it to, of course, the occupants. They don't hear it because these measures take this stuff in and neutralize it, which was really cool to watch. And the most recent video that was put up, I believe 4 had been put up this week, was the high voltage battery teardown. So now they've removed the battery from the car, they've rolled it out from underneath it, and they've taken basically the control cover off of the high voltage battery, and they're looking at some of the differences that they see between it and the 3, such as little things they've noticed so far, like the saving of some money on different paddings that no longer are required, or they felt are not required, and have reduced a number of the different materials that were put into this padding. The caulking that's used around the outside of the battery to make it watertight, a little bit of a difference there. The inside fuses, showing how they have been changed from plastic holders to now aluminum holders. So we've got something that they're saying, you know what, we need something that's a little more rigid from what we had in the past, or able to take more of a shock or a hit than previously. So again, this stuff is amazing, just taking it in. It's probably a lot of inside baseball to maybe most people, but for geeks like us, man, we're just loving it, seeing them rip down piece by piece and then auction off pieces and saying, hey, would you like a stand-up table for your man cave? And they make it out of a wheel and a hub, and all sorts of cool stuff's going on this MunroLive.com website that anyone can visit. What have you guys been picking up?
Yeah, so I think you need to add to your wall collection back there with some pieces of a Model Y.
Yes. So it was interesting to see some of the changes they've made. Like he tore open the motor, or started to tear open the motor. The rotor, he says, is different from the Model 3, even though the stator is the same. Yeah. And when they were tearing into the penthouse, it looks like they have. We knew that the cover over the top of the battery, the one that the Flufferbot put in, was gone, and then we started to hear complaints from Model 3 owners that during supercharging they'd hear a bang in the middle of charging, as the
clunk sound.
Yeah,
like a Snapple lid popping that's 6 feet long.
Exactly, and underneath you. But one thing I noticed was that this Model Y battery has strips of foam. I'm wondering if it will have the same issue, and if the Model 3 batteries are getting the same treatment, will they stop pinging in the middle of supercharging?
Let me let you know, there was a service bulletin for the plunking noise of the batteries, and what they've decided that they're doing is they're replacing some of the air breathers that are on the battery to release the pressure in a more controlled way, or a little bit of a quicker way, so that the pressure on the outside and the inside of the battery is equaled a lot faster. So if you are having that plunking issue, there is a recall available for you to go into the service and have it done under warranty.
Okay, because I ran into a new owner of a Model 3 shortly before the stay-at-home orders, and it was brand new. Like, he just got it from Tesla off the line, and he's like, does yours make that noise? I said, no, mine does not make that noise because I've got a bunch of tiny modules, and I still have the fluff. But if yours is doing it, it's normal.
Yep. Yeah, my Model 3 does it. I haven't gone in for the recall yet, but I will be setting that up as soon as this health crisis slows down.
Yes.
So the cool thing about this breakdown by Sandy Munro is that we're seeing all the little innovations that have happened, even just from the 3 that isn't that old until the Y.
Yeah.
And when you hear things like the other auto manufacturers are putting their EV programs on hold due to the economic impact of this stay-at-home, that really, Tesla's not going to do that. They are going to continue to innovate, and they're going to continue to innovate in electric vehicles because that's their product. Whereas other manufacturers are just going to put their EV programs on hold. Well, the other manufacturers were already not making vehicles as good as 2012 Teslas. So where are they going to be in 2022? This is just going to put Tesla even further ahead. It's
Can't argue
really,
with that.
It's really sad because, I mean, I want Tesla to do great. I'm an investor, a shareholder, a customer, but I don't want them to be the only decent EV out there. I would like to see a whole lot of competition. We're going to need a lot of vehicles in a lot of categories under a lot of name brands. If we want to have a lot of EVs on the road, there needs to be a lot of options.
Yep.
And so,
and that gives them reasons to fight, because if they don't have reason to fight, they're going to poop on us, just like all the other guys used to do. So if they have somebody keeping them sharp, you're giving them a reason to fight, then we can continue to get a good value for our money as well.
Right.
Everyone needs
competition. Yep.
Everyone needs competition. Exactly.
Yeah. I was surprised to see when he tore open the HVAC how there was a part that was obviously molded wrong, and they cut it off and they 3D printed a replacement and kept the line rolling. That was pretty
exactly.
cool.
And they said typically that would shut down a car manufacturer. They would just stop the line, redo the part, have it and all that time it would sit there. But Tesla took the affected units, cut it out, put a new 3D printed piece in place, and kept the lines moving. So interesting.
Right. Yeah, we saw that same thing with the full self-driving computers. When they had a shortage, they put in the older computers and kept the line going, and then people who buy full self-driving will get an upgrade at some later date.
What's funny that was in China. And
right.
We had Chinese people complaining about it.
Chinese people were complaining like there's no tomorrow that they didn't get the 3. Yeah.
But they'd be complaining even more if they didn't get a car.
Right, exactly. Or if they didn't get the car until after the incentive had expired.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Tesla needs to work a little bit on its communication. I think that you would get typically some person would complain regardless of whatever situation happened. But if you were upfront about it and saying, listen, in order to get your car on time, we had to put a 2.5 in, but you're guaranteed to get a 3 as soon as full self-driving computers start coming online again. So I think they could probably get away with that if they were a little bit more forward with messaging as the car's being sold.
Yeah, and Patrick touched on a good point. The only other automaker I've heard, I mean, it doesn't mean they're not doing it, but the only other automaker I've heard of that's trying to stay competitive is Ford with the Mach-E. They actually sent the engineers all home with their test units and their VPNs and their computers, and this is exactly what I suspect Tesla has already been doing for years, but it looks like they're taking advantage of their electric platform and the way that it's pretty much always on and always connected, and under the stay-at-home orders, continuing to get the vehicle ready to go on time whenever they can start assembling them.
Right. Yeah. Like we've been saying, there's been all these software rollouts and new features coming out. That stuff is still happening, even though their engineers can't work in the office. That's great.
Yeah, I got, 6 software updates, 5 software updates since...
you can't count them. They're coming so fast and furious.
Yes, and I know they were home before me because my took a while to allow us, and it was it's like, what is this?
Well, our next story is a bunch of updates that came in over the past 3 days about the Cybertruck, and Casey's got those outlined for us.
Yes, so Elon's been tweeting up a storm, and he's decided that the Cybertruck will have more suspension travel than initially advertised?
Promised?
Proclaimed? Yeah, that they told us it would.
Already, baby.
Yes, he expected to be able to complete the Baja challenge. And the vehicle will be 3% smaller, the window sills will be lower, So it looks like he said it's not going to impact usable cabin space or the bed space. So it looks like maybe the frunk might be a little bit smaller. The bumpers
Said
will be short.
1.5% interior smaller, just 1.5%.
1.5%, and then probably also 1.5% in the bed. And it's basically the same styling. And somebody asked if he'd be able to afford water. He said yes. It'll even float. I asked him if he'd be able to keep the warranty while it floats, and obviously, true to form, he doesn't answer me.
That is a valid question, I think.
Yeah. Yes, because I said, is that a joke, or is that, does the warranty work with that? And nothing.
So this is going to be a cyber boat as well, obviously. So it's
for a short while.
His note was it's going to float a while. Like who knows what a while is? Is that a second and a half? Is that 2 minutes? What is a floats a while mean?
Will that be longer or shorter? Well, I should ask him. Will that be longer or shorter than the Model S? But I
just imagine some of those other all-terrain vehicles you've seen that float. They get in the water and they use the tires as almost propellers as they're pushing their way. I don't imagine that will be the case, but
it is for the Model S, he says. But as we saw with Rich Rebuilds, once you get any water under there, it's done for.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping is that this will complete that idea that if you run into large water bodies of water, you can go across them.
Does that mean there's going to be a snorkel option for it for the air intake? It still does need some air intake, right?
It doesn't need that much air.
Yeah, it doesn't need as much as internal combustion, but it still does have air intake.
It's made of metal. The whole car is a heatsink.
There you go. Yeah, and in water, you're going to be able to dissipate a lot of heat.
That's right. Yes. Immediately. Yeah.
What else did we talk about? The self-leveling will be continue to be there, which would be cool.
Someone asked him about that new air suspension system. Is this going to be a combination of what you got, or a little modification on maybe the new Cheetah stance? And he said, no, it's all brand new. Everything's brand new.
Which is good. Yeah, because even the Cheetah still seems to be very similar to what I've got today, which isn't terrible, but it feels like it's 15 years old. Although I think mine is a slight increment into what Mercedes used to put in their cars. So it's time.
Yeah, so they had Raven suspension, and now they're going to have this CyberTruck suspension, and maybe they'll figure out some things that they can put over to the rest of their vehicles. So yeah, it's cool to see this rethinking things and figuring out new stuff, learning from what's been done in the past, and moving into the future.
Yeah,
very cool.
People have been asking him if the side mirrors can still be left behind, and he didn't answer that. But there have been people who've seen items going through the regulators that might make this.
Yeah, that's moved. It's moved beyond public import. I'm sorry, public comment. It's moved beyond that, and now they're moving on to the next stage. So there is hope that there may be the ability to lose those mirrors. And I gotta believe they're really hoping that happens for the semi, because those are huge elephant ears on the semi compared to any of the other vehicles.
Oh yes, and then our clue that the suspension was different, besides now Elon saying it's all different, was when he said that would be how they would power the air takeoff. The current systems wouldn't allow for. I mean, you could do some stuff with the air pump, but you couldn't use it to run tools for an extended period of time.
Pneumatic tools. Yeah.
And so you can run your air tools and you can run your power tools. So this is going to be.
This is a contractor's dream.
Except for the people who complain about the sails, but yes. But even the sails, I think, are a great idea, because now, especially if they lock with the body, now you don't have to worry about having separate locks, and you can put tools in there, and so as long as you don't need to dump load stuff over the left and right sides, if you can use a forklift on the back, I think it'll be perfect for a lot of people.
Exactly. Yep. Well, our next story gets into basically the seat heating. So there's a gentleman that had the thermal monitor, and we seen him actually before when he was looking at the 3. Well, he's gotten a Y, or gotten access to a Y, and he's done some imaging of the thermal seats. He's got an S. This is an S, the back seat of an S. And you'll notice that it's fairly uniform across 3 seats in the back. And this is the Y. So we've got definitely a difference. The fold down center seat basically has nothing in the back, just in the seat part, whereas the other outside seats have it both in the seat and the backs. But he was taking some images of the front seats as well. In both cars, they're again a little bit different, but the coverage seems to be more in the older S than the Y. Now, whether or not the seat heaters themselves heat differently or are more radiant at different temperatures, that is not necessarily known really until you feel it in a winter, I guess. But he was giving some idea as to where these where the thermal is registered with his camera. So kind of interesting article through Tesla Roddy if you want to get into more detail.
Yeah. Eric Strade's been running these ever since he got his FLIR camera, and he always finds some interesting stuff. Like they'll do competitions to see which vehicle heats up the fastest and what temperatures they reach. He did originally start out with his I think it's AP1 Model S, and seeing like what the pattern of the seats were and how hot the steering wheel got, and he's just kept it up, and it's pretty fun. Not fun, but pretty interesting to see what's going on there.
Exactly.
Definitely cool.
Good to know. Good to know. Next piece of information. We're going to talk a little bit about the Back to Future computer. Back to the Future. Actually, I skipped over one. There was a person that posted, Mickey H of Australia, posted their new wrap that they put in the Model 3, and it's so spectacular, I had to share it.
Was it a 3 or a Y?
This was a...
It's like a 3.
It's a 3. It's a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a different one that you shared recently.
The blue one?
Yeah, I was thinking of the blue one. But this is cool.
This is rose gold on a 3 after it being purchased. And of course, this is a performance. They added black rims, it looks like, as well. But what was so impressive was the job. Like the pictures on the share here don't do it justice. You can certainly go to the Twitter feed and see the pictures in a better light. But what was kind of cool was the interior. They matched the exterior's color as well as the console.
Yeah.
So excellent. I was really impressed with that. Thought that was a fantastic looking car. The modifications to it were outstanding, I thought.
I know someone really into rose gold might like to look at this.
And our next screen share, again, is if you remember the Back to the Future movies, you now can get your own interactive Back to the Future computer loaded on your center screen of your Tesla. So someone has set up a website and made it interactive. So the touch screen actually works. All you do is touch the different boxes and change the dates to whatever you'd like. And all the buttons light up and so forth. And it's kind of a cool little feature if you're a Back to the Future fan, as I am. You can make it a favorite on your website in the car and pull it up at any time. Very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, there was a Back to the Future screen, or is, for the horizontal version, or the portrait S and X, and now it's nice to see one for the 3 as well, 3 and Y. Yeah, it's cool.
Exactly. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about emergency brake presentation that was put on for Tesla. So recently there was a video that was uploaded, and again, you can look in the show notes to click to this electric article, which had the link to it. And basically what this Tesla presentation was talking about was the emergency braking system. And what I was shocked with some of the videos they showed of people walking out in front of a car from, say, a series of parked cars. People that are on their phone and just making their way across the road while looking at their phone the entire time. and walking directly into the path of a moving vehicle without knowing it. But this particular presentation was to show the automatic braking that is present in all cars, not just full self-driving, but any car has these sensors that look for people stepping out in front of the car and will automatically hit the emergency brake to stop the car from hitting that pedestrian. And Tesla, of course, collecting all this data, as we've talked about in the past, they know that every single day, the presenter indicated, there are tens, if not 100, of these incidents that happen every day of the week. And they're pulling some of the video from these instances and showing it in the presentation of these people just walking out in front of the car, and they don't even know it's there until they hear the screech of the tires. And it's just remarkable. The amount of lives that this has saved is probably not calculable. There's that many of these instances that happen on every single day. It's amazing. Now, they, of course, indicate that, certainly you as a driver, you need to be aware of these things as well. But I guess it's assuring to know that there are cases that the car will catch the brake quicker than you can and avoid, putting someone in a hospital or possibly killing them from them walking out in front of your car. So, amazing video, and take a look at it if you have a chance. It's interesting to see some of the instances that they put in the actual presentation.
And
yeah, it is.
It doesn't always slam on the brakes either. In my last video, I actually managed to pull the footage before I erased it. Before they put in the dash cam viewer, I accidentally formatted my drive.
Oops.
Well, I meant to format it, but I thought I had saved all the video, and I had not. So anyway, on this video that was saved, the car saw a guy in the crosswalk. It knew it was a crosswalk, knew it was a human biped, and the car didn't need to slam on the brakes. And as I was getting ready to cancel the cruise control, it already had started to slow down. It cut about 10, 15 miles an hour from my speed. The guy was gone. It picked right back up. So I didn't even have to touch. I don't rely on this by any means. But,
no.
But it is cool to see that it's looking out at all times, not just for panics, but also that it's trying not to overreact. Because if it had slammed on the brakes, we would have been far back from where we needed to be, maybe caused a different accident than one vehicle versus ped. It would have been rear-ending.
Exactly.
And then it cleared out very quickly. I had literally used the auto steer to change lanes to get around the slower van. We weren't really in any danger of interacting with the guy, but it gave him room, and that was nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I luckily, knock on wood, have not had an instance where the car has had to do that for me. Patrick, have you ever had an instance where it's done an automatic brake?
I have not, but in my last EV, I was showing a friend my new car. This was 2012, and we're in a parking lot, and there's a person on her phone looking down at it, walking at me. I stopped the car. She literally ran into the front of my car.
She hit you.
And yes. So I was hit by a pedestrian. And then, what? Oh, sorry. And then she moves to the side. Distracted pedestrians are a big problem. Distracted drivers are a big problem. You put the two together, and it's going to be fatal. So anything that the technology can do to help us is welcome.
Yeah, and I like Tesla's philosophy. The safety is safety first. Environmentalism first, and then fun to drive, and then profits seem to be at the end of their decision tree, and I like that. And I like that even if you didn't pay for the safety features, or you did pay for safety features, even if you didn't pay for the automation or any of the other high tech stuff, they still got it in your car. It's still active. Yep. It's still doing its job, and it will step in and help you.
Yeah. Very good. Last photo of the day, we're going to share a new purchase made by the Thailand Police Department. And they picked themselves up 7 Model 3s to add to the patrol car fleet. And what I find interesting in this photo is that the canceled silver color? Or is that a complete body wrap? I'm not sure. Nobody knows.
It's probably a wrap.
That could tell us. But of course, silver has been eliminated quite some time ago. The other question, and I don't know this for a fact, would be in Thailand, would these cars possibly come from China as opposed to coming from Fremont?
So Bjorn looked into it, and he determined they are gray market, and he has an idea of what's going on, but he's not at liberty to say until he gets another confirmation. So
there's more for this to come as to how Thailand got 7 silver Model 3s.
Yes, but they are gray market, and silver was canceled before the Model 3 Performance came out, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's probably part of the wrap, if not a paint job.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what the actual use is and how they deal with maintenance, seeing as how they are gray market. I imagine a government might be able to secure themselves a surfacing contract, but
there appears to be in the background some boxes in between the parking spots, so I'm wondering if that actually is charging that they have put in place. I can't really tell because I can't see any cabling, but definitely can see some steel boxing that's down the center of the parking area.
They do look like the size of some of the larger Chatamo stations.
It would have been interesting to see if they're adding to a fleet of possible other EVs already, which I don't know either.
The one on the other side looks like a Accord or Civic.
Yeah, it looks like a Civic. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
it looks like a Model 3 with Civic plates. Which we have seen in other pictures.
Seen that.
Yeah. That's not a surprise if that was to happen. So so that was kind of cool that 7 showed up. Well, that's about the end of the show, I guess, for this week. Mr. Green, any parting thoughts for us today?
Check out my latest video at youtube.com/CaseyGreen. That's KACEYGREEN. And particularly towards the end, you'll see that item I was telling you about where the car tried not to run over a pedestrian. And towards the middle, you'll see this is all on the 2020.12.5. You'll see where the car was going very aggressively with the smart summon.
In Christine mode.
In Christine.
Just like, you know, how you've got Mad Max mode if you want to, you know, force your way into that LA type traffic. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're going to have, when they get this whole stoplight and things down, that it'll be rolling stops, and you'll be able to skip by some regulations with
put it in California mode. Yeah,
in California mode, exactly.
California mode, it'll roll through the stops if there's nobody on the other side, but there's no cops.
We'll have to see if those modes start to roll into place when they get comfortable with this.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, with that, Mr. Connor, any parting thoughts today?
Sure. Happy Earth Day again, everybody. And if you want to check out SpaceX launch, they had one today, and launching some Starlink satellites into space, and you can check that video out on their YouTube channel. That was kind of fun to watch.
Did they catch the fairing? Did they catch a fairing?
I did not see that part. I think they were talking about doing recovery. I don't know. I missed that part.
They showed video of the ship.
The highlights. I watched the launch. I watched Miko, the landing. That's about it.
They do the highlights. They cut it off shortly after payload deploy, and I didn't see any messages pop up. Doesn't mean they didn't happen. I just didn't see.
Usually, Elon comments on it if they were successful or not.
Right. So. Yeah, and then in another month and 5 days, we'll have returned to human spaceflight.
The big one
from the U.S.
Yeah.
Yes. That's exciting. Dragon Crew will have its inaugural launch with astronauts on board.
Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug.
Take off.
Not on that flight. That's the next flight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not the inaugural, the second flight. But with that, Casey, roll the music, and we'll see you next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life.
Thank you, Lee Moon.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. And everyone have yourselves a great week.
Stay safe out there.
Bye-bye.